So I have stories for you about light. Before I delve into the stories, I'd like you just to take a minute and just think to yourself about the light in your life. Where does light come from? And just hold that. It has been a dark time. And by remembering our own light and the light in our lives and sharing it, we lift the world up. The sun. Once upon a time, according to the Japanese, all of the deities lived high up in the sky, and it was their job to do things that helped or hindered us down here. It was sometimes very annoying for us down here, what the gods and goddesses would do, but mostly they did their best. And the sun goddess, Amaterasu, I needed to check, was beloved by everyone. She was so beautiful in face and form that light poured off of her. It seemed as though light would coalesce around her and then spread through the world. Her grace and her beauty were beyond compare. And Amaterasu lived high up in the sky, and her greatest joy was her garden. She would spend hours working on her garden. But the problem with being a god or goddess, or a human for that matter, sometimes the problem is family. And Amaterasu had a brother. And her brother Sasanu was the god of storms and wind and the seas. And he and his sister did not get along. From the moment of their births, they fought and argued and scrambled at one another all of the time, each trying to get a better grip so they could tear the other one apart. It was a constant contest. Lots of baggage was accumulated by both of them. Lots of things happened in this family. It would take far too long to tell you about all of it, so let me just tell you about the time when Sasanu decided that he would show his sister who was stronger, who was wiser, who could hurt the other one more. And so when Amaterasu was drifting across the sky, smiling down at the world, he went to her garden, and he tore it to shreds. Not a single petal was left untouched. Leaves were shredded. The lotus pond defiled. And when he saw what he did, he smiled and walked away. Now, when Amaterasu came back to her garden and saw what had become of it, she knew her brother was behind it, and she was so tired of the fighting, so tired of being angry, so tired of the rage, that she just felt her heart crack. And she took herself away. She wandered the world until she found a deep, dark cave and hid in the cave, and with the magic in her hands caused a great boulder to roll across the mouth of that cave. And when that happened, the world became dark. Light and warmth were gone, and while the moon did the best he could, moonlight is not the same as the light of the sun. And the people were cold. And they began to worry that their crops wouldn't grow, and they called up to the gods saying, "Help us!" And the gods gathered in front of this cave with the boulder in front of it, and they did what they could. First they called, "Amaterasu! Amaterasu, come out! Come out!" And she wouldn't. Her heart was too sad. And they called to her, "Come out, we miss you so!" And she didn't listen to them. And finally the gods demanded that she come out, and she ignored them. Because she could. She was the sun. And then Utsume, the goddess of mirth and laughter, said, "I know what to do." And so she ordered that a great mirror be made of bronze, a huge bronze platter, and that it be held up near the mouth of the cave. And then she ordered the drummers to begin drumming. You could do this. And as they began drumming, Utsume began to dance. And first her dance was beautiful and flowing and wild. Thank you, that's enough drumming. And she began to dance faster and faster as the drumming began to drum faster and faster. And then she got a little smile on her face. And as she danced, she began to grab the hem of her robe, and she lifted up higher and higher and higher, and whoop, and then dropped the robe again. everyone gasped. And then again, with a little smile, she danced, and she grabbed the hem of her robe, and she lifted it up higher and higher and higher, and whoop! And everyone gasped, and then they began to giggle. And as she danced faster and faster, and she grabbed the neckline of her robe, and she began to pull it down lower and lower and lower, whoop! And everyone began to roar with laughter as she danced and revealed herself bit by bit, until all the gods and goddesses were holding their bellies and laughing at her delight in her body, at her delight in her dance, and at the little glimpses that they got to see now and then. Amaterasu, in her cave, heard this laughter. And at first her heart just grew more sad, thinking, they're having a party without me. I'm sure some of you have had that feeling. But then she did the thing that we all can do, and she opened up the boulder. She pushed aside the boulder and peered out, because we all can join the party. But as she looked out, instead of seeing the party, she saw her own reflection in that bronze mirror. And it was so brilliant that her eyes were dazzled. She had never seen herself before. So she stepped out of the cave and looked at her own reflection, puzzled by this creature of beauty and light. And as she stood there, one god pushed the stone back behind her so she couldn't sneak back into the cave. And all the gods and goddesses gathered around her and said, Amaterasu, you are beautiful. Amaterasu, we have missed you. Please come back. We need your light. We need your warmth. And her brother, the wind, the storm, the sea, came to her and bowed low. I am so sorry. She didn't really believe him. But she did welcome the chance to return to the world, to return to light and love, and she rose up into the sky and smiled, beaming down.